Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Well, Tasmania Police is hunting for 2 armed thieves who threatened a frightened supermarket owner in a swift robbery this afternoon. Innocent shoppers were caught up in the incident, which unfolded only metres away from a primary school.
At 2:47 p.m, covered in camouflage and brandishing a large pole, a robber brushes aside a waiting customer at the St Leonard supermarket and makes his demands known.
He just said, whatever you have, just give it to me.
Frozen in fear, store owner Mian Hamad empties what's left in the till, only a few $100s.
He was hitting me and he said, I will hit you, so please give me whatever you have.
Authorities were quickly on scene to talk to witnesses. The small business owner feeling defeated, but thankful no parents or students from a nearby primary school were in the store at the time.
It's really hard to survive. So when you get these kind of incidents, you feel really very disappointing,
Store owners say the frightening encounter lasted only a minute before the offenders fled in a waiting getaway car. He was immediately back behind the counter, but is in fear.
Maybe I feel for maybe 6 months or 3 months that I will be scared here, feeling unsecure that maybe it could be happen again.
Police say the car was a red Toyota Corolla and are urging anyone with information to contact them. Garth, Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
Small businesses struggling through their COVID-19 recovery have been offered a share in a new $20 million support package. It's hoped the grants will help revive the bruised sector, but for some, it's too late.
This quiet, empty bar all packed up as Ettie's in the heart of Hobart closes its doors for good.
Oh, it's been pretty disappointing. We've worked really hard for the last 3.5, nearly 4 years there, trying to put this space together and give something beautiful and elegant back to the Hobart dining scene, and through no fault of our own, it's been pulled out from underneath us.
The business joining the growing list of hospitality heavyweights, making the tough decision to close after months of pain.
The chance of another lockdown would totally ruin us.
But others are really struggling. We know that the visitor economy has had the rug pulled out from underneath it, and although Tasmanians do their best to support that, and I can't be more proud of the way Tasmanians are supporting local businesses and holidaying locally, it's still not enough.
Announced today, $20 million worth of extra grants to help 3,000 local businesses. That funding welcomed by those who have managed to make it through.
It was something we'd never seen. In 40 years of business, this is probably the toughest year we've ever had. It would certainly assist us in the way forward because all these things are wonderful, but there is an end date to JobKeeper.
What we're doing with this package is helping support that resilience, helping support that innovation, so these businesses can thrive now during COVID, but also into the future in what might be a different operating environment.
Labor remains cautious, saying the initial round of funding was a mess.
Well, the government needs to improve the process. Based on what we saw last time, it was shambolic and people missed out who were eligible, and it was heartbreaking.
We've consulted with a number of industry sectors to ensure that we're getting the right guidelines to cover as many businesses as possible.
But for some, it's too late.
COVID has made it just too hard for us to move forward.
Ruby COMMANE, 7 Tasmania News.
Thousands of Tasmanian Year 12 students who've been facing major learning disruptions amid the pandemic have received a boost to further their study. They've been offered early entry into university months before the final exams.
If the day-to-day pressures of studying in her final school year wasn't stressful enough for Kate McDonald,
at least a couple of hours after school on an average day, and then obviously if you have exams then more and stuff like that.
imagine the added upheaval caused by a global pandemic.
Especially with Corona, not knowing whether or not we would be able to do exams and get that ATAR has sort of added to a lot of that stress as well.
But Kate, along with a select number of classmates, are now breathing a sigh of relief, becoming the first of 1,600 students to be offered an early entry position at the University of Tasmania.
In an uncertain year, being able to bring certainty to students about their educational future is really important.
They feel that this has taken a weight off their shoulders and they can enjoy the rest of the year and work hard to achieve their goals.
The program will see teachers recommend ambitious learners for their desired tertiary course, but some degrees will still require an all-important ATAR score.
So medicine, nursing, law would probably be the most notable ones.
Similar systems have already been adopted at various universities on the mainland, and there's optimism it could become the norm here in Tasmania.
We'll be looking to work with them to see if we can continue it.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
And Tasmania remains on standby to send health help to Melbourne. The state government confirming it hasn't yet received any requests for personal protective equipment to be sent to Victoria, but it is now working out what assistance Tasmania can offer if needed.
We're currently investigating whether or not further resources can be provided to assist them. We need to balance that obviously against the demands that we have here. However, that work is currently being undertaken.
The Minister also providing an update on our own pandemic response, saying 304 people have so far been arrested for non-compliance with the new COVID restrictions. Yet another iconic event has joined the growing list of community highlights canned due to COVID-19. The Point to Pinnacle half marathon cancelled for the very first time, but organisers say a replacement challenge could be on the way.
It's known as the world's toughest half marathon, but organisers of this gruelling 21-kilometre slog have made an even tougher decision.
We've announced today that the Point to Pinnacle and Point to Pub events can't go ahead this year. It's a major disappointment. Yeah, I think it's such a great community event, and there's a massive fundraising from the event and community spirit.
COVID-19 uncertainty putting the brakes on the iconic race, from the Rest Point Casino to the very top of Mount Wellington.
It draws a lot of people from interstate, but also almost 4,000 Tasmanians. So with the current mass gathering limit at 500 and social distancing and the nature of a mountaintop finish, it's very difficult to actually comply.
It's the first time the race has been canned in its 26 years. The news disappointing for mental health advocates MOBART MOBROS, saying the challenge is a highlight on the group's fundraising calendar.
Yeah, look, the Point to Pinnacle isn't a one-off event. It's a community that follow it, it's a legacy, but it's a huge achievement as well. So it's about being fit and healthy, and that's what the MOBART MOBROS are all about as well.
But another smaller event could be on the horizon.
There's something in the pipeline, and we've got to keep working on that over the next few weeks, and hopefully we can make an announcement soon about how people can be involved in the Point to Pinnacle this year.
On the water, organisers of another iconic event, the Sydney Hobart Yacht Race, say they're still going ahead, with 54 entries already signed up. Ruby COMMANE, 7 Tasmania News.
A review into whether Tasmanian war hero Teddy Sheehan should receive a Victoria Cross will be delivered on Friday. An expert panel is looking into the case after the Prime Minister knocked back a tribunal's unanimous recommendation to present Mr Sheehan with the award posthumously. Mr Sheehan's nephews, along with State Minister for Veterans Affairs Guy Barnett, gave evidence to the panel earlier this month. The ordinary seaman was 18 years of age when he went down with the HMAS Armidale, defending his shipmates from enemy attack. A new hub for a proposed mountain biking track at Georgetown has been secured. The Georgetown Council has acquired the former RSL building, which will now be converted into a base for riders with shuttle services, food and drink venues and shower facilities. 85 kilometres of mountain bike trails around the area are due to be ready to ride by the end of next year. On the West Coast, the Mount Owen mountain bike project is set to go ahead after securing $2.5 million of Commonwealth funding. One of the state's most popular tourist attractions is on track to be heritage listed. Mona has been granted a provisional place in the Tasmanian Heritage Register, and it could become permanent if approval is granted following public consultation. The site, which Mona is on, Marilla Estate, was heritage listed in 1999, but the registry is considering whether to replace that listing to better recognise the artistic and architectural value of Mona. The museum opened in 2011 and has been visited by a quarter of all travellers to the state in recent years. The Royal Tasmanian Botanical Gardens is also being recognised with a replacement entry in the state's heritage register. An army of volunteers has gathered to assemble survival backpacks for the most vulnerable in our community. Now in its 6th year, the initiative aims to make life a little easier for those sleeping rough in Tasmania's challenging winter weather.
Many hands coming together to make light work of this important task, packing 150 of these survival backpacks to support those sleeping rough.
People do come to us regularly for assistance. It is cold, it's a cold morning today, and the backpacks is essential to help those people.
Filled with essentials, including a first aid kit, clothing, toothpaste and picnic set. Also vouchers for transport and food.
A practical thing like just having a plate, knife and fork, and that we take for granted is something that a homeless person might really require.
It is such a practical option for people in crisis to be able to have just those important life essentials that sometimes you just won't have with you.
The St Vincent de Paul Society project today boosted by staff from the Commonwealth Bank. 30 employees from across Tasmania helping out.
It's a great team building culture, get to know each other at a different level. Some of these charities are important to our people.
Support services will now distribute these across the city.
There are a lot of people in crisis and a lack of affordable housing, and so that's when people do reach a point of crisis.
Just take it for granted that we've got a warm home to go home after work or after school. Just be aware that there's people who are really struggling out there.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Labor says more support is urgently needed to help new mothers living outside Hobart. Currently, just one public mother and baby unit is running in Tasmania, but Labor wants the specialty program rolled out in other cities. The government says it's already looking to establish a similar initiative as part of a Launceston General Hospital upgrade.
We want to see that redevelopment back on track, and so these are the types of things that we'll consider through that master planning process.
It's about making sure parents, no matter where they live, can get access to the services they need and support they need so they can build healthy relationships with their children.
Currently, parents living regionally are forced to travel to Hobart to access the same support. To the TSLW now, and Clarence's Jessie Williams believes the delayed start to the season has actually helped the team. The Roos started their premiership defence with a comprehensive win over Glenorchy last Saturday. She says while most players couldn't train during the pandemic-induced shutdown, the layoff hasn't affected their skills or mindset.
Seemed to actually work for us. A lot of the girls are coming back seemingly with better skills. I think just to reset and have that time away has made us a little bit more hungry coming back.
Clarence will play North Launceston at UTAS Stadium on Saturday. Tasmania's new tennis development coach says his priority will be creating pathways for local players to take on the world. Former top 400 singles player and top 150 doubles player, RAPHAEL DUREK, has been appointed to the position. He'll work with local coaches and Tennis Tasmania to identify young talent and help guide them towards a professional career.
It'd be great, and especially in developing role models for young Tassie players to know that it is a pathway that's possible. So definitely that'll be a big focus point.
DUREK has a unique connection to the state, with Ulverston-born former top 30 singles player Richard Fromberg, his former coach. And finally in sport, after holding their horses due to COVID-19, one of the state's most unique sporting pursuits is back. Endurance horse riding returns this weekend, seeing riders saddle up for 80 kilometres of hard yakka on horseback.
Today was a 3-horse race, but on the weekend, up to 100 riders will brush up against one another in the ultimate test of equine endurance, including 15-year-old MILLANNA BIGNELL and her horse, Nellie.
She loves it. She's an adrenaline junkie. At the start, she's always sideways and keen.
The test is to trot 80 kilometres of farmland. The fastest will do it in around 5 hours. The secret to staying alive in this game is knowing your horse and its limits. A compulsory vet check at the halfway mark of the race makes or breaks all of your hard work.
The motto for endurance is to complete is to win. So getting past that vet check and making sure you look after the horse is really paramount.
Club president Blaine Astle likens training to running a marathon. It's about getting K's in the legs.
It's quite physically demanding. The horse particularly needs a bit of preparation and training.
The sport has a long history in Tasmania, stretching back to the 1970s. Now a national championship is held each year. It came to Scottsdale in 2018. MILLANNA hasn't ridden at those heights yet, but she'd bolt at the opportunity.
We call it ride fit. So if you're not ride fit, it's tough, but if you're ride fit and you're training your own horse and you're training multiple, it doesn't take much out of your body. But if anybody was to just jump on and go, it would be pretty sore the next day.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Good evening. Liawini kicked us off with a -6 as we warmed up later to 16 at Smithton and St Helens. Hobart and Burnie a top of 15 degrees, Launceston 14, Devonport 13 today. Strawn, Friendly Beaches and King Island 15, Flinders Island and Low Head 14, Liawini 12, Ooze 11. Partly cloudy as a front pushed a band over our west, Zeehan 1 millimetre to 3 p.m, a little over the northeast as well, cleared later. There's the frontal cloud to the west of Tasmania, the mass in the Tasman Sea, remnants of a large low, a little more spotted over southwest WA. Tomorrow a high tracks over South Australia and Victoria, extending a ridge over Tasmania. That's pretty much the story for tomorrow. The winds west to southwesterly up to 15 to 25 knots and reaching 30 knots over the south and lower east. They will soften later and 10 more west to northwesterly. We do have a strong wind warning. That's for waters between Wineglass Bay and Low Rocky Point. Hobart tomorrow, a top of 13 degrees and partly cloudy. Cygnet 12 and 12 for New Norfolk. Launceston, mostly fine, early fog, then sunny, 14 the top, 14 for Devonport, mostly sunny for Campbelltown, a top of 12 after a cool start. 14 the high for Burnie, a possible early shower for Strawn, 13 and 14 the top for Smithton. And for St Helens, sunny and 15, 14 for Swansea, Fingal, early fog clearing to a top of 13. Friday, fine apart from a light shower over the west, a shower over the west and north to kick off the weekend, fine and partly cloudy elsewhere. And on Sunday, a bit more cloud with showers over the west, north and far south. Mostly sunny in Perth, 16 and fine after early fog in Adelaide, partly cloudy in Melbourne, Canberra and Sydney, sunny in Brisbane. Clear conditions in Hobart, 11 degrees at the moment, just a touch of cloud over Launceston, 11 as well, and partly cloudy in Devonport and 12 degrees. Kim, that's all the information I have to impart.
Full of it. Thanks very much, Murph. That is your news for now. See you tomorrow. Good night.